Welcome back, forward-thinking entrepreneurs and industry leaders. I'm absolutely thrilled you're tuning in for this explainer today. We're looking at something way bigger than just a localized environmental story. We're unpacking the recent 2025 and 2026 Arctic sea ice data. Now, why should you care? Because the state of the Arctic is a critical, real-time macro indicator for the entire global climate system. And look, if you're navigating global markets, managing complex supply chains, or trying to forecast regulatory risks, this is exactly the kind of intelligence you need to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, shattering the pause myth, then looking at 2025's record low. After that, we'll cover why Arctic ice actually matters, the Arctic dipole shift, strategic benefits for your business, and finally, the long-term reality. We're going to bridge the complex climate science directly with actionable strategic insights. Let's get to it.
Starting with Part 1, the pause myth shattered. If you've been following the environmental news cycle over the last few years, you might actually be operating under a pretty major misconception. Did winter sea ice loss in the Arctic really stop magically in the early 2020s? I mean, for a minute there, the numbers really did seem to flatline. It kind of looked like the bleeding had stopped. Some folks were even asking if the rapid multi-decade decline in winter sea ice had finally permanently stabilized. But was that actually true?
Well, the answer is unequivocally no. Take a look at this number, 5.8%. Between 2024 and 2025, the Arctic sea ice extent during its winter peak phase literally crashed by nearly 6%. That right there is the largest single-year wintertime drop in the entire satellite record, going all the way back to 1978. It completely obliterated the illusion of a pause. The decline didn't stop, it was basically just taking a deep breath before plunging all over again.
Moving on to Part 2, 2025, a record low.
Now, what's really interesting about this data is the sheer magnitude of the drop we witnessed on March 22, 2025. Clocking in at 14.33 million square kilometers, 2025 became the undisputed lowest maximum in the 47-year satellite record. I mean, it beat out the previous record holder from 2017 by a massive 80,000 square kilometers. That's a huge area. We are literally watching the climate narrative being rewritten in real time.
And you know, this isn't just some abstract number on a spreadsheet. It translates into dramatic physical realities right on the ground. Take the Gulf of St. Lawrence, for example. It's a major economic and ecological waterway, right? Well, it remained virtually ice-free during the entire 2024 to 2025 winter season. That is a staggering regional anomaly, and it physically demonstrates just how extreme this crash really was.
Which brings us to Part 3, why Arctic ice matters.
So you might be wondering, why should my tech firm in Austin or my logistics network in Rotterdam care about a remote ice shelf? Well, it all starts with the albedo effect. Simply put, bright white sea ice reflects incoming solar radiation right back into space. But when that ice melts, it gets replaced by dark, open ocean water, which absorbs the sun's heat instead. This creates a really dangerous feedback loop. Less ice means a warmer ocean, and a warmer ocean means even less ice. It's essentially like turning off the AC in a greenhouse and then painting all the glass black. It acts as an engine accelerating global warming.
And here's the kicker. That extra heat, it doesn't just stay in the Arctic. Normally, winter ice acts like a lid, keeping ocean heat trapped. Without that lid, heat escapes into the atmosphere, totally throwing a wrench into deep water ocean circulation. This ends up altering large-scale atmospheric pressure patterns, which leads to highly unpredictable extreme global storm development and severe weather impacts much further south. So for global businesses, this means disrupted supply chains, damaged physical infrastructure, and a whole lot of unpredictable economic volatility. The Arctic basically dictates the weather you experience, no matter where your operations are based.
And this brilliantly illustrates Part 4, the Arctic dipole shift.
To understand exactly why we saw that sudden crash after a period of relative calm, we have to look at the Arctic dipole. Think of this as a massive, hidden atmospheric engine operating right over the North Pole. It's basically a naturally recurring wind pattern that heavily dictates the flow of water and the physical state of the sea ice up there.
Let's compare the two states. For years, leading up to 2021, we were in what's called a positive Arctic dipole regime. So, counterclockwise winds were trapping fresh water from Siberian rivers, creating this thick, cold layer right under the ice. It acted like a protective shield, keeping deeper, warmer saltwater far away from the ice. That shield is exactly what caused the pause we talked about earlier.
But when the dipole reverses, that protective freshwater shield dissipates. Suddenly, the sea ice is completely exposed to the warm, deep ocean saltwater, and it melts rapidly from below. That reversal is exactly what hit us so hard in 2025.
Igor Polyakov, an expert from the Woodwell Climate Research Center, summed it up perfectly. He said, "We are beyond the peak of the currently positive Arctic dipole regime. This could have significant climatological repercussions, including a potentially faster pace of sea ice loss." Basically, the dipole shifted, removing that temporary mask. This accelerated ice loss isn't just a fluke, it's our new baseline.
Let's move to part 5, solutions and strategic benefits. Now that we understand the underlying science, how do we actually leverage this climate intelligence? Understanding this permanent trajectory is honestly a strategic superpower. First off, you can enhance your company's predictive climate modeling, giving you a much better grasp on the physical risks to your assets. Second, you can anticipate the stricter environmental regulations that governments are inevitably going to deploy as warming accelerates. Third, you can adapt your global supply chains ahead of time to withstand the unpredictable weather shifts we know are coming. And finally, you can capitalize on resilience planning, building robust operations that thrive while your competitors get caught off guard by extreme weather.
So the crucial point is here in part 6, the long-term reality. We really need to look at the timeline of our planet moving forward. From 1979 all the way to 2019, we saw a rapid, consistent decline in sea ice. Then the early 2020s offered that brief, deceptive pause thanks to the Arctic dipole. But 2025 and 2026, they've completely shattered that pause. The record-breaking lows have returned, restoring that statistically significant downward trend. Make no mistake, we are right back on the permanent trajectory of a warming climate. As Dr. Duo Chan from the University of Southampton so clearly states, short-term recoveries can temporarily obscure the longer-term direction. The low winter sea ice extents in 2025 and 2026 clearly show that Arctic sea ice loss has not stopped. The underlying warming of our planet is continuing unabated, and fully grasping that is step one in future-proofing your business. I'll leave you with this thought. If a naturally occurring wind pattern was the only thing masking a global climate shock, what happens now that our shield is permanently gone?
If you found this update helpful, please hit the like button and share this video with fellow entrepreneurs. For more deep dives into the latest environmental regulations and industrial news, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. See you in the next one.